You know, the food system today is basically kind of controlled. It's hard to get around the USDA, and certainly in Texas, it's the TDA, Texas Department of Agriculture. I belong to the Texas Organic Farmers and Garden Association. A few years ago, I forget where we're at, somebody tried to get somebody in from the USDA, and they couldn't, but they got somebody from the Texas Department of Agriculture. And he gets up. Now, he understands that everybody here is organic and lower chemicals, or whatever you want to describe it. We're the group. And he tells us how wonderful we are and that we ought to be proud of what we do. Then he goes into the mode of the USDA, and you know, we have the cheapest food in the world. That's their whole goal. Cheap. Doesn't have to taste good naturally. Of course, you can always make bad food taste better by putting MSG on it, or hydrolyzed vegetable protein, or whatever you have to choose. But that's our whole thing. It has nothing to do with whether it's going to cause disease. Yes, we have the cheapest food in the world, but we also have the highest medical expenses from one of the poorest medical systems in the world. We rank about 50th now in the world. Third world countries have better health than us with less cancer and less heart disease. But it all comes from the food. And, of course, GMOs just happen to be part of it. But I think that, in fact, I've got on my computer unhealthy soil equals unhealthy plants and animals equal unhealthy people. That's where we're at. Now, I want to quote something partly because of the whole part of this is farming as well as the GMOs. Back March 3rd or 4th, I went to a seminar in El Reno, Oklahoma, and I had a chance, and I went to meet Gerald Fry. Gerald is the most amazing man I've ever run into in the cattle industry. He's without a doubt the smartest person I've ever run into. He had a problem 30 or 40 years ago when he was running 500 head of cows, and 200 of them would have babies, and 200 of them would have E. coli scours. And sometimes he'd lose them, sometimes he'd pull them through. And his thought was, what causes this? He checked minerals, and guess what? It was selenium. He put selenium as a supplement into the cows. He's never had E. coli scours since then. This guy is the most observant person in the world. He's truly amazing. One of the things that he talks about is cows do not get enough iodine for the thyroid, and the thyroid controls the other glands. If they don't have enough iodine, then you have these other problems, and you have breeding problems and health problems. Gerald came to the conclusion with the right minerals, cows don't get sick. Now, I know some of you raised cows have been around. You know what Bang's disease or brucellosis was? Brucellosis was a condition that created abortions. Cow looked perfectly healthy. Everybody's happy. She has a baby, or she's pregnant, and she aborts. Well, guess what the veterinary medicine, USDA, government-sanctioned solution to that problem is? You have 50 cows, and you have one of these that they've discovered, they kill all 50 cows. That's the solution. But back in the 40s, a doctor by the name of Albrecht was at either University of Missouri or Missouri State. I don't know whichever one it was. He later got fired because he wouldn't go along with the chemical version of agriculture. But he had proven that the way to solve Bang's disease or brucellosis was it was a nutritional thing. He just fed them out of them. And cows that they said, well, no, we have to kill them, were actually didn't have to be killed. At any rate, so I had this, we went for this conference, and I thought I was pretty smart about cows, something about mine, and I've learned a lot, and I read a lot, but I didn't even come close to Gerald Fry. But I want to read something to you, and I hate to read, but I think it's important and I need to do that. And he's talking about farmers, he's talking about all kinds of farmers. The infrastructure is designed for the farmer of any kind not to survive. He is supposed to produce cheap food at his expense, keep his equipment and pastures up to date, and operating at below parity prices. The cattle industry is a lucrative business for 7 or 8 different business owners after it leaves the farmer's hands. The farmer or rancher has by far the largest investment per capita, meaning head of stock, and of income of all the other owners combined. He also has the largest risk factor for his investment. He has the land for pasture and hay, cows, bulls to make the cows, tractors, hay balers, fences. Isn't that terrible when your mouse doesn't work? We'll try it without the mouse. But he has tractors, hay balers, fencers, barns, trucks, and the list goes on and on. Plus the maintenance and upkeep of all the above. The farmer makes the cows, then he waits 9 months for the arrival of the new calf, which is another animal to keep healthy. The calf stays at its mother's side for 6 to 8 months, usually 206 days, because that's how the system is geared. And which, in the process, this is a side thing, when the cow is not on its mother for at least 9 to 10 months or until the mother kicks it off, the rumen does not develop properly. But you can feed them in the feedlot with grain, but they're not truly grass-fed beef, which goes back to what I said earlier about that. Now, the calf stays to the mother's side. Now, some other person, or well, he says some other factor, meaning person or business, of the infrastructure tells him what he will get in dollars and cents for his cattle or produce. He is expected to produce high-quality product for the consumer. And the average person in the public believes that that's going on. In most instances, the farmer does a great job growing grass and marketing that grass to his livestock. I mean, the farmer wants to do a good job. The farmer delivers cattle to markets that would produce a favorable eating experience. After the backgrounder, that's these other people that get involved with it, and the feedlot get through pumping hormones in the ears of the animals and in the feed, the animals have been genetically altered to the point that they will never finish, meaning they'll never finish correctly in terms of health and taste. The genetics will at some point stop the growth of the animal. He will start growing and putting on back fat, which is labeled as finished. That's kind of the way the system works. The feedlot delivers the animal to the slaughterhouse, and they are slaughtered. The carcass is hung on the rail and shoved into a cold room at 20 degrees and chilled. Now think about that. What would it be like if you were at 20 degrees and naked? You're going to chill too fast, you're going to get too cold. And that's the problem. So, the carcass should never be put at 20 degrees. It should be hung for at least at 35 to 38 degrees for at least 12, if not 24 hours. Then it can be chilled to stop any rotting, but it still allows the enzymes to work on it. This meat shouldn't be sold to the public or shipped to the public for at least 14 to 21 days. In the slaughterhouse on the second day, the meat is cut, wrapped for shipment, and it's on its way to the dinner table. That's what you're getting. And unfortunately, a lot of people go, well, I've had people buy my meat and going, boy, it tasted so fresh. No, it wasn't. It was 2 weeks old. The stuff that tastes bad is the fresh stuff. That's the stuff that you get in the grocery store that came in a vacuum package. Now this is again Gerald's comments. I direct market the animals I raise, and the processor hangs the meat for a minimum of 14 days, in some cases as much as 21 days. Then they are allowed to chill. After the 35 to 37 degrees, then they're put in the cold room for the remainder of the time. This is called the aging process. Keeping the meat at these temperatures allow enzymes naturally to tenderize the meat, but you keep it cool enough to not, prevent rotting. And he says, my wife and I are the only owners. My meat is hormone, antibiotic, and chemical free. He didn't put in grass, but Gerald doesn't feed grain or GMO grain. He says, I do not have all the answers for all the people. However, there are a lot of moms out there that would buy your meat and welcome it to your dinner table if it was available to them. We are the owners of the calves from birth to the dinner table, etc. And he's got a little thing that I like. Farmers should be price setters, not price takers. But again, the whole system is geared against that. Incidentally, in terms of the cattle business, you got the farmer, the sale barn, the order buyer, the background of the feedlot, slaughterhouse, food supplier, grocery store, and then the cook and the dinner tables where it finally ends up at. And again, he reminds everybody that this applies to all farmers. Doesn't matter if it's beef, pork, chicken, vegetables, fruit, or grain. We can get into the grain part of it, as all of you know. It's overly processed, and of course the latest fad is that, and all you have to do is watch on TV, and just ad nauseum, you just want to get sick over some of the advertising, or the person that's being interviewed on the morning thing about how, yes, whole grains are good for you. Well, first of all, people don't need grains. Cattle certainly don't need grains. But what difference does it make whether it's whole or processed? It's many times genetically engineered. It's overly processed, stripped of all nutrients. But hey, you're supposed to believe what they put on TV. And my wife tries to prevent me from trying to throw my shoe through the TV set. Does the biotech industry hold any promise? I'm not sure how I want to answer that one. I think that probably genetic modification might have some bearing. But the truth of it is today, people are getting all warm and fuzzy about gene modification. And I know there's some stuff that's been done that's been successful. But I contend that the biggest problem is not gene modification. Let's stop damaging the expression of what our genes are capable of. Most of the problems in terms of health are not bad genes. It's good genes being fed badly. I have a friend, you can find him on the internet, I say friend, acquaintance. His name is Burton Goldberg, and I showed my office manager his picture yesterday. And Burton is very much into, what is this, my mind went blank.
Anti-cancer, I think.
Well, yeah, that too, yeah, but he, stem cells. Well, he first started going to Mexico, and there's some really wonderful places down there. And he did that, and now he's getting stem cells from New Zealand. All you have to do is put Burton Goldberg up on Google. And if you look at Burton and you say, I said to Kathy yesterday, I said, how old would you guess Burton is? And she looks at him, and she said, well, probably about 60. Burton's 80. He makes his living advising people on how to, where to go for the proper health treatment. I don't know how many of you realize, but cancer treatment is not designed for anything other than making money. My wife is a nurse, and she told me 25 years ago, there'll never be a cure for cancer because there's no money in it. Well, Burton can give you advice depending on what your diagnosis is, where the best place for you to go is. And that's how he makes his living. He's been doing it for 25 years.
Didn't he also publish the Alternative Guide
Yes.
to Medicine?
Yes, about so big. Yes, sir. Absolutely. And he stumbled in it by accident. I think it was an employee's daughter had some problem, and he just wouldn't give in and say no, so he took her someplace and to an alternative practitioner of some sort, and the daughter completely, and that's how he got started in it. Now, I don't know whether it was, I guess it was Randy this morning. I want to talk about health risks, and it was true in 2009, the American Academy of Environmental Medicine, which goes by AAEM, and you can find this by going on in Google and just put or put the URL in and with .com, and it'll run you around somehow, and you can get back to this. It has a list of doctors all over the United States by state who are alternative practitioners, primarily diagnosing chemical problems that are causing disease. But these people are sharp, and they're, most part, I would say, well, I shouldn't say this. I know a lot of them that are osteopathic.